All right, welcome to the workshop. This is the Small Business Sustainability Assessment Workshop, where I will show you how to complete the sustainability assessment for either your business or it's something, if you deal with other businesses, you can show it to them as well. Now, first thing regarding where all this has come from is the question of sustainability. And sustainability has been a word that's been around for a long time. And, we've been talking about sustainability and looking after the environment for years. And we can understand a little bit more about the word sustainability just by breaking it down. So the definition, well, it starts with the verb of sustain. And the dictionary definition of that is to allow or make to continue for a period of time. And then we go to the adjective of sustainable, and then we end up with a noun of sustainability. And we can break it down even more by looking at the origins of it. I'm a really big fan of etymology, which is the study of the origin of words. And so we can break it down into the prefix, the root, and the suffix. The suffix is really obvious. It means the ability to sustain. The root word tain is used in a lot of other words, such as obtain, abstain, pertain, entertain even, detain, and it comes from the Latin word ten, meaning to hold. And the prefix sus is what intrigues me the most. This is used in other words like sustenance and suspend and suspect, susceptible. And it's a derivative of the prefix sub, meaning underneath or to come from under. And so we can define this word sustainability as the ability to hold from underneath. And in the context that we use sustainability today, when we're talking about preserving the environment and looking after our future ability to live on Earth, it really accurately describes that as the ability to hold life from the Earth. So how do we achieve it? The modern environmental activism movement has been going since 1970. It's been over 50 years of talking about it and of action, of people making other people more aware. But, I'm not the first person to talk about sustainability, and I won't be the last. And I'm not the loudest, I'm not the most influential, I'm just one person. But I am one person taking a stand for what I believe in. And we've been educated about the damage to the environment for decades now, and lots of changes have been made and laws have been passed. And in 2007, incandescent light globes were banned as a move towards protecting the environment and reducing the reliance on power. Then in 2018, plastic shopping bags were banned, and that does something to impact the amount of plastic going out into the oceans. And in 2030, there's been a target set to cap emissions. And who knows if we get there or not. But with all of this, it's still not enough. And we're not there yet. And in the quest for sustainability, we have made a start and there has been a lot of action, but it will take more action and more changes and more effort from more people to get there. And this is where it comes down to you. You, being one person, can make more effort and more commitment. And every single person and every single business has an impact, even if you can't see it. Your choices matter and your contribution counts. We all know it's necessary to look after the Earth. We know that we're living on a ticking time bomb, and that if things don't get better, our way of life and our ability to exist, our home on Earth, it's under serious threat of being compromised or even destroyed. And so the number one reason I'm talking about this today is so that we can sustain life on Earth. So have a look at this scene from Finding Nemo. Dory gets caught in the net. And then Nemo gets this idea that if all the fish swim down, they can overpower the net. So Martin tells all the fish, swim down, swim down. And, it's almost too late. The net is getting lifted up out of the water, but then it starts to work. And the fish begin to overpower the winch, and it's straining. The fishermen can't believe what's happening. The bell's going off like crazy. And then it works. The line snaps, and all the fish, including Dory and Nemo, escape safely. Well, then there's this one. This is a bug's life. And one ant, Flick, decides that enough is enough, and he stands up to the grasshoppers. Hopper wants to keep all the ants under his control so that the ants will feed the grasshoppers. But when Flick challenges him, all the other ants start to see that they greatly outnumber the grasshoppers, and they catch on that they are the ones with the power. Hopper realizes that the game's up, especially when Princess Ada stands up to protect Flick. It's not just one ant standing up for himself anymore. And then the sheer volume of the ants overpowers the grasshoppers, and they're free. So can we all agree that the threat of extinction is real? Do we have enough evidence to show us? Unless someone like you cares an awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's just not. And this applies to every single person. Other people are doing things, and that's great. What are you doing? And we can do something about it. Every person and every business can do something to turn this tide. Every little contribution counts. Every little action, every choice, it all adds up. It counts. It starts with one person, and that one person might have to stand on their own just for a little while until someone else will stand with them and when they believe in what they're doing too. And then a third, and then a fourth, and eventually everyone is on board. And the people who haven't joined in are the ones left standing on the sidelines and getting left behind. Now, this concept is even quoted in Scripture. Now, ye may suppose that this is foolishness in me, but behold, I say unto you that by small and simple things are great things brought to pass, and small means in many instances doth confound the wise. So I say to you now, your contribution matters. You can be an influence for good and help to pivot the way we do business towards sustainability. You can change the way you run your business so that you can be part of the new solution instead of being part of the existing problem. Everyone knows that we need to look after the environment, but when we're running a small business, we don't always know how. We don't always know where to start. So if I can, I just want to take a moment to share with you how I came to be standing here talking about sustainability and conducting a sustainability assessment. I was running a tidy little bookkeeping business. I started it 18 years ago when my second son was born, and I did it so that I could work from home. And my former employer became my first client. I was contributing my little bit to the family income, and it was doing fine. Everything was ticking along. I was really good at it. Then I got this idea about 10 years ago that I can do something more. So I'm pursuing the options that are available to me, and I'm trying and failing at lots of different things. Like I tried doing an online course on business financials for people who say that I'm not a numbers person. And I tried doing this research study into being organized and productive. And, there was something there, but it just didn't fit. And then about 4 years ago, my husband of 25 years just left. Out of the blue, no warning at all. Almost overnight, I was destroyed, abandoned, betrayed, broken, But as it turned out, his departure was a blessing in disguise. It was just what I needed. It was all good. So as I'm putting myself back together, the quest to make a living is now a lot more important. And that's when I discovered coaching. So signing up to learn how to be a coach was the single most emotional business decision I had ever made. I knew I just had to do this. I took action and I used my mortgage money to pay the deposit on the training. And then as soon as I did that, I burst into tears. I was as terrified as I was motivated and inspired. But this process to learn how to become a coach means that you have to go through the whole coaching process yourself. And for me, that was a transformational, life-changing process of healing and self-discovery and identity and forgiveness and growth and love and vision. It was just what I needed, just at that right time. And I healed so much that I remarried in December 2020. So the coaching and healing process put me back in touch with my 6-year-old self. And at that time, I was completely in love with the earth and with all of nature. And I had this deep and abiding reverence for the earth. And, I've always been a hippie at heart, but this process really brought it front and center. So now I'm working as a coach and I'm working with clients and it's going good. I'm getting great feedback. Only I had this passion for living in harmony with the earth, and it felt like my passion was a little bit at odds with my profession of being a business coach. And so in my journey to rediscover my nature-loving self, I learned about permaculture. I signed up to complete a permaculture design certificate before I really even knew what it was. I just knew I had to do it because this was being true to my authentic self. And as it turned out, every moment of that training, every module that we did, it just reinforced to me that this is what I've been trying to do my whole life. I just never knew what it was called. It's called permaculture. Permaculture is a design framework that harnesses the power of nature to benefit human life. It uses the wisdom of ancient cultures to work with nature, not against it, and it strives to live in harmony with the earth and maintain the natural order of things. It starts with growing your own food, but the concepts and the principles and the ethics apply to every aspect of life and society, including livelihood and including running a business. So as I grappled with this disconnect between my profession and my passion, I began to see business wisdom that can be found in these permaculture principles. And I developed this understanding of how to help small business owners, just like you, to run your business the way Mother Nature would want you to. So as I continued to develop this understanding, one thing that became abundantly clear was just how the small business sector was still flying under the radar when it came to making this change to sustainability. Governments have been paying attention to it. A few corporates and big businesses are paying attention and making changes. And consumers and households and families are becoming more discerning and, making choices to be more sustainable. There are a few small businesses that are offering sustainable options, but we don't need a few businesses doing 100% sustainability. We need hundreds of thousands of small businesses, each doing their 1% better. So I have now dedicated my career to promoting this movement towards sustainability in the small business sector through permaculture business coaching, developing permaculture business plans, and conducting sustainability assessments to help one little business at a time make one little change at a time. And so here we are going to go through the process of doing a sustainability assessment. And in this assessment, you would have received the template that was sent to you. So you can open that up now. And what we're going to do is I've prepared a couple of examples to show how this would work, given every single small business is unique. But we can slot them into a couple of different types. And so where we're at with that is we can I'm going to change the screen that we're looking at. Okay, so now we're looking at the sustainability assessment template for a manufacturing company. And this manufacturer, and so we can go through all the different elements of the business and compare and evaluate each of the elements according to this impact matrix, where you look at the impact of that specific element and then the frequency, and then that gives us a number from 1 to 5. It's very simple and you don't want to overthink it too much. So if we go straight into it, we've got the section 1 is management. We look at the mission statement. Now, in this business, this example, we've got Gary, who's the owner of a manufacturing company, and his mission statement doesn't mention sustainability. Neither does his vision statement. And the company policies have been developed focused on creating a profit. And understandably, that is important. Now, Gary at home, he is environmentally conscious. He's trying to do what he can. And the general manager, he admits that his wife and his children are probably more environmentally conscious than he is, but he's starting to see that this is important. But then you've got the company culture. And they've noticed that the staff are increasingly discerning. They are frequently mentioning saving the environment. And so we make, these are just observations that we make. And then we look at the matrix reference. And so we'd say with the mission statement and the vision statement, I've given it a 2 because it's rarely referred to, but the impact is moderate because of that flow-on effect to the rest of the company. The company policies, being focused on profit, the policies are actioned or they are looked at a bit more frequently than the mission statement and the vision statement. And so that gets a 3, being regular and moderate. Now, 1 just means it's all good. The actual impact on the environment, talking about a negative impact, it's minimal and it's rare. It's minimal or it's rare or it's all good. So it just gets a 1. And then it's as simple as that. Now, if we look at another example, this is a retail company owned by Heather. And Heather, she does make a mention of sustainability, pardon me, in her mission statement. And her vision statement does mention offering sustainable products. Her company policy does focus on the consumer experience. As the owner, she is personally committed to sustainability, and there is no general manager, it's just her. The company culture is, they choose green whenever it's possible. And so the matrix reference that we apply to all of these is just a clear 1, meaning that, yeah, it's good, but we're good there. It's all fine. We get a 2 on the company policies because that focus on customer experience, it's something that is referred to a bit more frequently than the others. And that may produce an opportunity. Now, the third example that I have is Elizabeth, who owns an Australian service company. So you've noticed I've got a manufacturing, which is product-based, and we've got retail, which is product-based as well. But then we've got a service company that doesn't sell products. It's just, income from services rendered. And I've kept these as general as possible so that they can be applied as easily as possible to other businesses. In the management section, the mission statement doesn't mention sustainability, neither does the vision statement. And rather than company policies, Elizabeth is a solo operator. It's just her. And so she doesn't have a set of company policies, but she does have a business plan. And the business plan doesn't mention sustainability. She does personally try to make sustainable choices whenever it's possible. There's no general manager, and the company culture is her because it's just a solo operator. So in the matrix reference, we've given a 3 to the business plan because the business plan, similar to the company policies, are referred to and used frequently. And that produces an opportunity there. Okay, the next section, if we go back to the beginning, so this is back on the manufacturing company, and we're going to look at the marketing. So the marketing manager is the owner, and so we're just going to carry on that same matrix reference for the owner. At home, he's environmentally conscious. Now, in media, there's 2 different types of media. You've got your physical media, media being things that are printed or things that, are passed around. And then you've got your digital media, which, that's where the social media and other forms of media, of digital media, being all internet, website, email, that all falls under that umbrella of digital media. So on the physical media, they use business cards and they have these branded pens, which is a nice little thing that they can give to their customers. He does have a website, but to be honest, most of his business comes from repeat business, from word of mouth. And so he has these customers that come and place orders with him, and occasionally he'll get new inquiries, but generally it's just repeat customers, and so he doesn't do a lot of marketing campaigns or strategies or anything like that. And so he does have a website, but he doesn't really do much on it. But on that website, there's no message about sustainability. In the geographical area that his company services, it's mostly local, and there's about 20% of the orders that he receives goes interstate. So he's got Perth customers, but those Perth customers have other locations, and so that's where those orders have come from, to fill those needs at the interstate locality of those customers. Now we're looking at the resources needed to service his geographical area. And the biggest ones that jump out is freight and packaging. Now you'll see here, the matrix reference I've given it is 4. Going back up to the matrix, we've got, it's either a regular thing that can have a severe impact, or it's a frequent thing that can have a moderate impact. And both the freight, everything's getting shipped out, that's frequent, and it's a moderate impact because freight and the impact it has on pollution and everything else like that's a moderate impact. Also the packaging, where does the packaging go when it's finished with? It gets thrown away, and that becomes a waste issue, and so that's pretty important. So back here to freight and packaging, they both get a 4. Now, he hasn't received any feedback from his customers regarding sustainability, but, again, he hasn't asked, but he does notice that of his customers, the larger companies, they do mention sustainability in their media. And this could be just a thing on their website or a little thing on, their printed forms. But that's something that he has noticed. Now, if we look at the marketing of Heather and the retail shop, so she's the marketing manager. She has printed paper carry bags, and she does have an ad in the local newspaper. And her digital media, it consists of Facebook posts in local groups, and really she relies on a lot of just passing walk-in traffic because she's in a shopping center. She's noticed that the geographical area of her business is local trade, but about half her customers seem to be tourists. Now, I'm not having a go at tourists by, being from interstate and out of town and everything like that, and all contributing to the pollution. Tourism is good, don't get me wrong. But she's noticed that 50% of her trade is from tourists. So the resources needed to service this. Okay, so she's got Facebook. This is just making observations of what resources are needed. She's got the local newspaper. She's got good walk-in traffic, and she does have a good reputation. She gets good feedback. And she knows that her target market, her customers, they do appreciate having those sustainable options. So if we look at the marketing for the service business with Elizabeth, she's marketing manager, and it's mostly a digital presence. And she does have business cards and those branded pens as well. With the geographical area, if it's not local, it's online. And so she's very conscious of, keeping that as sustainable as possible. Of the resources that she needs to service these customers, either locally or online, she needs internet, she needs telephone, she needs power. She has a good reputation, is the feedback that she gets. But with the target market and what they feel about sustainability, she just doesn't know. So let's look at back to the manufacturing company, and we're going to look at the operations. Now, the operations manager is handled by the general manager. The human resources, they have 6 full-time staff. And this is all pretty straightforward. Supply chain and transportation. They receive materials that, so it's get delivered from Perth, it's produced locally, and they've noticed that they receive frequent small deliveries. When it comes to waste, he's got a steel recycling bin on site, and so all of the scrap and everything gets recycled. They do have one of those big 3-meter bins that gets picked up by the big trucks, and that gets collected about once a month of just general waste. With the water, they're going through about 30 kiloliters a month, and it's not crazy, but that's what it is. They have observed that most of the deliveries they receive are covered in many, many layers of shrink wrap. Something to be aware of. They go through about 1,200 units of electricity per month. And when it comes to storage and inventory, they keep a very small stock on hand because most of their activities are manufactured to order. The workshop layout, when we're looking at production and processing, it's mostly effective. It's working. It's quite good. Of the observations about defects, there's a very small occurrence of apprentices making mistakes. And so when that happens, these items are just thrown away into the steel recycling bin. So that's good. And in skills, the tradespeople have held their tickets for at least 10 years. They're very experienced. Let's look now at the retail shop and the operations there. So Heather is the operations manager, And she has 2 part-time staff, and they both live locally. The suppliers are mostly from the eastern states. It is produced in Australia, but most of what she needs to get shipped over from Sydney or Melbourne or Brisbane, and she's receiving deliveries about 2 or 3 times a week. She feels like she's doing pretty good with waste. It's one full regular bin picked up once a week. With water, it's really just personal use. She doesn't use water for running the business. It's just personal use, like in the kitchen and toilets. Some suppliers are still using excessive plastic. She is trying as much as possible to deal with sustainable suppliers and producing sustainable options. And she's in a shopping center. So when it comes to power, she's not really able to make a lot of impact there. She goes through about 900 units a month, and it's mostly lights and computers. With the storage and inventory, her storage is well organized, and she feels it's pretty space efficient. With the production and processing, apart from the normal day-to-day retail operations, you've got the restocking, and she does that each evening, and the packaging is all stacked and then recycled. In terms of defects, it's very rare, and if it is, it's very minor. It's not an issue. And with skills, both herself and her staff have skills that are focused on retail and customer experience. It's a retail shop, and so that of course has always been their main focus. Now, if we go to the operations of Elizabeth's service business, so she's the operations manager, and in human resources, she's a solo operator. Supply chain and transportation, right? So she's got a computer and all of the relevant equipment that goes with it. You've got monitors and you've got printers and whatever else. She just uses major brands from local retailers. In transportation, she does about 500 kilometers in business travel per month. And that's even though she's focusing on just local. And if it's not local, then she conducts her business online. It's still about 500 kilometers a month. When it comes to waste, it's minimal. She goes through a fair bit of paper, but the waste paper is shredded and then she puts it in her chicken's nesting boxes. Same with water. She doesn't really use water in the course of running her business. It's just personal use. And plastic, it's minimal what comes in, and what does come in, it's recycled whenever it's possible. And she has solar panels installed. She actually runs her business from home. And so the solar panels installed on the home have, of course, been able to benefit her business as well. With the storage and inventory, really the only thing that she is impacted by is the archives that are in her shed. It's taking up a bit of space. There might be an opportunity there. Production and processing, she's got a messy desk, she's got a busy calendar, never enough time, never enough space, never enough organization. Defects, it's minimal, it's not an issue, and skills are current and up to date. Okay, now we'll go through section 4, going back to the manufacturing business. Finance. So the owner, Gary, looks after the finance. And he's operating at a profitability of 15%, and that is 15% of the gross sales is left over as net profit at the end of the year. He's not really running budgets. He's found, it's not really been necessary because he's pretty profitable, money's good, it's okay. So he hasn't really found the justification to go through that process of setting up budgets. With the assets, the equipment that he has, they still have a lifespan of another 5 to 10 years at least. And he's in a good position with his liabilities. All of the equipment was purchased on hire purchase or loans, and he's doing well. He's pretty much got most of them paid off. And he's actually experienced quite a good percentage of growth over the past 3 years. So that's very promising. With the retail shop, Heather is running the finances, and she's running at a profitability of 20%. She's quite happy with the profitability of her business. She does keep budgets, and she uses them regularly, and she keeps the expenses within the budgets, and she's meeting her targets. Of the assets, the majority of her assets are held mostly in stock on hand. And there's minor liabilities. Growth is stable. It's small, but stable, a consistent 5% each year for the last 5 years. That 5% may not seem like much, but she's quite happy with it, and it's a small operation. You know, there are limits to how much she can grow when she's confined to this, you know, the space in the shopping center and the traffic that she relies on. Next, we go to the service industry run by Elizabeth. She's a finance manager. Now, she's running at a profitability of about 5%. So she is experiencing quite a much smaller profitability than the other examples that we're using. She sets targets and budgets, but she's not reaching those sales targets. And so the finances are hard. It's been quite difficult. She has a very small asset base. You know, there's the value of her equipment and cash in the bank, but not much else. The liabilities are fortunately just under the value of the assets, so she's not overextended there. And same with the growth as a profitability. She's running at about 5% each year for the last 3 years, and so it's a very small operation, and very not a lot of profit there, not a lot of money to work with. Okay, so there are the 4 areas that you cover in the sustainability assessment. And so now we bring it all together. We total up the number of observations. So we've got 6. This is the manufacturing company for Gary. And we add up all of the combined matrix references. So we've got 6 observations with a matrix reference of 10. And then you divide 10 by 6 to end up with 1.66. We do the same. Matrix reference of 19 for 8 marketing observations gives us 2.37. 23 for 13 observations in operations gives us 1.77. And then 6 and 6 gives us 1 straight. So a total of 33 observations with a combined matrix reference of 58, or an average of 1.75. Why are these numbers important? What does it do? So I'm a numbers person, and this is where numbers can point you to where your focus needs to be. The biggest number is marketing. That could be the biggest opportunity to make some changes. It could be the biggest area to focus on. What's going wrong there? Why is that so high? And as a snapshot of this moment in time, it's probably not that much of an impact. But where this comes into its own usefulness is when you do follow-up assessments. And I would recommend doing these assessments every 3 months. And as you do them as part of your quarterly review every 3 months, you watch those figures and how do they change and how are you going? Is things getting better or are things getting worse? For the retail shop, we've got 5 observations in management with 6 matrix reference, 1.2. 7 observations in marketing with 10 matrix. 11 observations in operations with a matrix reference of 21. And that's the biggest one at 1.91. And then 6 in finance and 6 in matrix. So that's just 1. So total of 43 matrix references to a total of 29 observations gives you an average of 1.48. And we'll come back to this a bit later on. Now, so in the service business that Elizabeth is running, we've got, just very quickly, being mindful of time, 30 observations in total, 37, 1.23. There's really not much impact. She's doing pretty well. You can see as we go through, it's all mostly 1s, a couple of 2s. And I think I saw a 3 here. Yeah, in the target market. Don't know what the target market thinks about sustainability. That's about a 3, because that could be very frequent. It can be a minor impact, but it's quite frequent that she's dealing with customers, and the impact that could have on the overall sustainability could be important. So now we go through this whole process just making observations and making an evaluation to the impact matrix. Then we go through and we fill in the the opportunities. As we go through, these little opportunities present themselves. Okay, so some of them are quite obvious. If your mission statement doesn't mention sustainability, there's an opportunity to revise your mission statement and show a commitment to the environment. Same with your vision statement, same with your company policies. If the owner and general manager are both environmentally conscious or becoming more environmentally conscious, bring that into work. They've noticed that the staff are increasingly discerning and they're mentioning saving the environment. So let's talk to them. Of the opportunities that came out during the marketing, we can do a media release saying that we care about the environment and we're going to do something about it. Now, this is something where I have to stop and just pause on the assessment, and just want to talk a minute about greenwashing. In marketing, this is really dangerous, where companies will say, we're so environmentally friendly, we care about the environment. But if you actually look at their operations, it's just a whole lot of hype and they're not actually at their core concerned at all. That's called greenwashing, and it's really bad. Make sure that if you say, and especially if you make it public and tell the world that you care about the environment, make sure you mean it. Okay, back to the assessment. There's an opportunity in the geographical area. They have mostly local, and they've got that 20% that's going to interstate locations, but they can encourage more local trade. It's good to stay local, and I know some things are not available in your local area, and so you have to go and order things in, but wherever possible, do local. Now, with freight, look into more sustainable transport options and look into biodegradable packaging. Now, at this point in time, we're just looking at what options are there. We're not making a decision that we're going to spend 50% more on freight because it's sustainable. It's just looking at what is available. There's an opportunity here when they receive frequent small deliveries. So perhaps the deliveries are collated and all sort of kept together in Perth, and then working with their freight company, they just receive one delivery once a week. That would mean, have a look at the impact that would have on the production times and everything, but consider that. So most deliveries are received covered in shrink wrap. Okay, so let's ask the suppliers, are they using biodegradable packaging? if we're using so much power, can we look into solar panels? Opportunities. Now, you don't have to carry out all of these right now, but these opportunities present themselves. And, what can we do? So defects, maybe we can keep a register of the defects and just track the cause of why it happened and the outcome of what did that impact. Okay, so all the trades have had their tickets for 10 years. They're very experienced, but maybe it's time for a refresher course because business is changing and the way we do things is changing. In the profitability, 15% profit, that's great. That means there's room to put a sustainability budget in place. Put your money where your mouth is. And it's not all about making as much money as possible. We all need to look after the environment. And if it costs something, and if you can afford to spend something on saving the environment, then do it. So budgets and targets aren't really active. So maybe we can start putting budgets in place and just see how that goes. Now, with the retail shop, I'll just very quickly go through the opportunities that have come up. So where the company policies are focused on customer experience, let's look at how we can revise those company policies to introduce a focus on sustainability. With media, maybe we do more digital advertising. Maybe that might be enough to drop the ad in the local newspaper. We can encourage more local trade. There's an opportunity in the operations with the supply chain. There's a big opportunity here to research local suppliers and stop relying on products being shipped over from over east. And same thing as the manufacturing company, we can look at collating deliveries at the freight depot and just receive it once a week. That would save quite a bit of travel and fuel and the pollution. So if some suppliers are still using excessive plastic packaging, ask them to use more sustainable packaging. Now, you don't have a lot of control over what your suppliers do. I mean, you can choose to not support them or not buy from them, but you do have power in terms of consumer demand. And you might be just one voice, one customer. But if you and then several other of their customers are asking for sustainable packaging, they have to pay attention. This is where there is that power in numbers. So if you're locked into a shopping center and you have no power over what the shopping center does in terms of renewable power options, ask them. Ask them, do we have solar? Would you look at getting solar? What's the harm in asking? In the skills, it's focused on retail and customer experience. Maybe we can research new methods and new sustainable ideas. People love new ideas. It's new, it's exciting. In the finance, 20% definitely room in there to dedicate some of that budget to sustainability. And we can revise the budgets to include sustainable choices. And that can be just a line in your budget that when you make a change and it costs more than it did before, it's taken up by that budget that you've set aside to be more sustainable. So I'm just going to very, very quickly because we are short on time. Elizabeth running the service business. Now we noticed that her score to begin with was really good. She's got a very small impact, but she can still revise the mission statement and revise her business plan. She can still talk to customers about sustainability. Don't know if they care about it? Ask them, have a conversation. Find out about the sustainability of the companies that's making the equipment that she needs. And so that means when it's time to get a new computer or get a new printer or get any kind of piece of equipment, have a choice between different brands, do your research into them and find out which one is doing more to protect the environment. Now she's got all these archives in the shed, so there may be an opportunity there to digitize those archives and then shred the hard copies. And instead of them just, going to waste and being useless in the shed, she can actually put them in compost and put that carbon back in the earth. Profitability, okay, not much there. We need to do something to increase the profitability, because for a business to have an impact on promoting sustainability, that business needs to stick around long enough to keep promoting sustainability. So get your profitability up, and so we need to do something about that. So we look at all of the different opportunities that are available. Where are we here? And then we put together an action list. So actions and next steps. Action, we give it a deadline, and then we follow up. Now, in this process, the deadline, it depends on, is it simple and quick? Is it really urgent? How much extra time is this going to take to get this done? So revising the mission statement, it's pretty important that it all starts and then it filters down from the top down. Now, we've got a follow-up 1 month from the deadline, and that is across the board, across all these action steps. I'm just going to focus on just the marketing, so the manufacturing business, because there's a lot here that he can do. So they can do a staff meeting where the owner and the general manager express their personal commitment to the environment, and they know that their staff already care, and so they discuss with them, raise awareness, brainstorm opportunities. What can we do? They can put together a media release of the results of that staff meeting and put it on their website, put it into their branding, and that can be as simple as in your letterheads and purchase orders and on your website or anywhere. Just a small one sentence statement of, this company cares about the environment and we choose sustainable options wherever possible. It could be something as simple as that, but you've made it known. Okay. Research potential customers in the local area to keep things local. Contact the freight providers to ask what sustainable transport options are available. Are you bringing in electric trucks? Are you bringing in hydrogen-powered trucks? What's out there? What's possible? And the more people ask, the more it becomes a consumer demand. Contact suppliers to ask about biodegradable packaging and get quotes. We're not making a commitment on doing it yet. We're just finding out the information. So discuss with the freight company the possibility of collating the deliveries in Perth and then just have one delivery to site. Ask the suppliers if they're using biodegradable packaging. And these are very simple tasks. It's an email. It's a phone call. Ask the landlord for permission to install solar power. We're not installing it next week, but we're just getting the ball rolling. We can put together a defects register and just find out how much does it actually happen and what is the impact of it. And we can look at refresher courses for the trades to find if there's something that is offering more sustainable methods and processes. We can determine what percentage of the net profit can be dedicated to improving sustainability. That might be a conversation you have with your accountant. And we can set up budgets. Let's get it done and see how this goes. So in the notes, we've got several small tasks to start the ball rolling, and this will need further actions at the next review. This follow-up date that is 1 month after each of the tasks, this follow-up process is a report to be logged with this review, and the report is to include the date that it was actioned, by whom, and the feedback or the answer to the question that was asked, or the result of what the task and the impact and the effectiveness, and just a note on what it is that happened from that task. And then make a commitment that we're going to do this again in 3 months' time as part of our next quarterly review. So that is the process of carrying out a sustainability assessment. And with this, it will help you to to just see where you're at and provide opportunities of little things that you can do. Now, these are very small actions. It's an email or, maybe a little process, but it's turning your attention towards what can you do to improve your impact on sustainability and improve the impact on your on your business and protecting the environment. Now, we're going to come back here. So just a few quick words about what it is that I do. I run, obviously, these sustainability assessments, and I can work one-on-one with clients to go through this process and really, pull it apart and go through these individual elements to quite a deep level of detail. And so that can be booked through my website. I also run online mastermind groups, and this is a monthly Zoom meeting where we all get together and we can bounce ideas off each other. We can, discuss specific things that are happening in our business and, get everyone's input. And these sessions are facilitated by me with a permaculture focus to introduce these permaculture principles that can be applied to business. And so for just $55 a month, that online group mastermind can be a fantastic way to start just seeing what it's like and seeing what the permaculture movement can do to improve your business. I also do one-on-one coaching, and with this coaching, this is a 1-hour session, and generally you just need one session a month if things are going to plan and good progress is being made. So that's at $165 a month. And if for any reason at all you feel like you need more frequent sessions, the sessions for a second, third, or fourth are discounted, so that it's not going to be that much more if you need more coaching. And this coaching, a lot of the clients, when they first start, they say, well, I don't really know, exactly what is coaching. A lot of people don't have any experience with what coaching is. So you could relate it to having a session with I don't know, like a counselor or something like that. But it's focused on a result that you want to create. And this result that you want to create, I'm a facilitator to help you get there. We look at what's getting in the way. We talk about what you can do. I can provide accountability for the things that you want to do, but, keep putting it off and keep procrastinating. Having that accountability can sometimes be all it takes to give you the motivation to actually get it done. And so there's been great progress made by clients who just have someone to hold their hand and guide them through what it is that they're trying to achieve, but they just haven't been able to do it on their own yet. And then finally, I offer permaculture business plans. And so a business plan being an absolutely essential part of your business, we can go through and rewrite it with a permaculture perspective and work into it and infuse it with these permaculture principles, where we can use this wisdom that permaculture provides in doing things the way nature would want you to. And nature always gets it right. Nature doesn't make mistakes. And so the more that we can run our business aligned with nature and with the permaculture principles, it has to work because nature knows what it's doing. So I thank you very much for your attendance. I thank you for going through these sustainability assessments with me. And I am always open to receiving inquiries and helping you to answer your questions. Please get in touch. And my website is evertrue.com.au, and you can reach me through there and find out all about permaculture, there's blog articles that I've written. You can find out about my services and a bit more about me and who I am as well. And I thank you very much, and goodbye.